Good day everyone. As we reflect on the start of 2025, it's clear that we've experienced a turbulent beginning and it seems coming quarters will continue to be volatile. To understand the financial market movements in the first quarter, we must first consider the expectations at the beginning of the year. Following another year where US stocks outperformed their regional counterparts, many investors were optimistic that a new Republican administration would bolster US exceptionalism. Concurrently, America First policies were expected to intensify challenges for economic growth in other regions. However, the reality has been quite different. Elevated uncertainty from volatile US trade policies has dampened growth expectations in the US, while Europe has seen a more forceful fiscal response than anticipated. Although we are reporting on the first quarter of 2025, the start of April has already brought significant developments. Global markets have tumbled further as Liberation Day proved one for the record books. The following chart shows the VIX index up to the 11th of April. It is often called the fear gauge because it tends to spike during times of market downturns, reflecting investor fear and uncertainty. The VIX and the S&P 500 generally have an inverse relationship. When the VIX rises, it suggests that investors expect greater volatility and potential declines in the S&P 500 and vice versa. As we can see from this chart, it shot through the roof on the 4th of April, post the Liberation Day tariff announcements, giving us an understanding of the level of market disruption brought on by the tariff announcements. Despite the sharp market reaction, it is crucial to remember that long-term wealth creation requires perseverance through short-term disruptions. Trade tensions and political noise, while significant, tend to fade against enduring fundamentals, innovation and resilience in global businesses. Emotional reactions to market volatility often lead to locking in losses and missing out on recoveries, which history shows can occur swiftly and unexpectedly. Now, back to the quarter one overview and returns. Tariff-related headlines dominated US equity markets throughout the first quarter, and new tariffs on imports from Mexico, Canada and China in February were followed by additional tariffs on steel, aluminium and automobiles in March. While certain economic indicators did indeed start to point down, most notably the Atlanta Federal Reserve's GDP Now series, there were no obvious signs of cracks in the labor market or purchasing managers' indices, and subsequently, equity markets outside of the US posted gains. Another key driver behind markets during the first quarter appears to have been DeepSeek's AI breakthrough in January, which led investors to reassess the prices of US mega-cap tech stocks. This was also reflected in the collective performance of the Magnificent Seven, down approximately 16% as at the end of March, as measured by the Round Hill Magnificent Seven ETF before the tariff-associated volatility. The S&P 500 ended the quarter down 4.3% in US dollar terms, while the tech-heavy Nasdaq fell by over 10%. The DeepSeek announcement also improved the sentiment towards Chinese technology companies, with Chinese stocks up over 14% for the quarter. At that stage, the strong run was further supported by the notion that US tariffs were going to be less punitive than feared. Chinese equities also helped push emerging market equities higher, up 2.9% in US dollar terms for the quarter. This was further supported by Brazilian equities that also ended the quarter up 14%. European markets, as measured by the MSCI Europe, excluding the UK index, ended the quarter up 10.5% in US dollar terms, also benefiting from the ongoing rotation of investors seeking alternatives to the US. Global equities overall, as measured by the MSCI All Countries World Index, or ACWI for short, ended the quarter down 1.2%. Given the elevated uncertainty, the Federal Reserve, or Fed for short, took no action on interest rates during the quarter. Fed Chair Jerome Powell indicated potential future rate cuts, reflecting concerns about downside growth risks over inflation. US 10-year Treasury yields ended the quarter at 4.2%, 36 basis points lower than at the start of January. Positive returns from US and UK bonds offset losses in Europe and Japan, with the World Government Bond Index ending the quarter up 2.5% in US dollar terms. Global property ended the quarter up 1.5% in US dollar terms after taking a beating in the previous quarter, where it was down by over 10%. Back home, the quarter was marked by political drama, with the Government of National Unity failing to reach consensus on the national budget. Despite disagreements over VAT increases, the budget lacked significant spending cuts. South Africa's gross government debt has now risen to a concerning 76% of GDP. Economic growth and investor confidence continue to be hampered by deteriorating infrastructure, including roads and ports, which impacts logistics and trade, making it more difficult for businesses to operate efficiently. However, SA equities performed well, with the capped SWIX up 5.9%, driven by a 27.9% increase in resources, particularly gold shares. It was the best performing asset class in rand terms by quite a margin, contributing handsomely to the performance of our multi-asset solutions, the MFP focused model portfolios, and the momentum focused fund of funds. Financials were down 2%, while industrials gained 3.1%, led by index heavyweights such as Richmond and AB InBev. The JSE All Bond Index, or ALBI for short, had a strong year in 2024, returning over 17% on the back of the GNU frenzy, lower inflation and interest rate cuts. Despite all the positives last year brought, many challenges and risks remain amid concerns over the national budget and political uncertainty. Doubts linger about the government's ability to achieve sustainable growth and fiscal discipline. Yields climbed steadily during Q1 at the longer end of the curve, with the 10-year government bond yield at 10.6% at quarter end. The ALBI still managed to end the quarter in positive territory, up marginally by 0.7%. Bonds in the 1 to 3 and 3 to 7 year maturity spectrum were the main contributors, as the longer dated bonds detracted from performance in line with rising yields. After being the best performing asset class in 2024 and contributing significantly to the returns in our focused multi-asset solutions, local property struggled during the first quarter, down 4.3% but still up 20.1% over the past 12 months. Local cash continues to give steady inflation-beating returns. It gained 1.9% over the quarter and 8.3% over the past 12 months. The rand has gained 2.8% against a weakening US dollar during the quarter and 3% over the past year, detracting from returns of global asset classes. Let's take a closer look at the performance of our focused multi-asset solutions over the past quarter. We maintained a mostly neutral tactical exposure to all asset classes, selectively trimming from property based on valuations and outlook for the asset class, and adding to local bonds as well as local and global equity. The contribution to returns from local equity helped to offset some of the losses from global equity and a weakening rand. The diversified nature of our focused multi-asset solutions, the MFP focused model portfolios, and the momentum focused fund of funds meant that they proved to be resilient during the most volatile quarter we've seen in a while, though they did not escape the impact of negative returns from global equities, property, and a strengthening rand. Following the alignment of the model portfolios and the fund of funds, both sets of solutions delivered returns slightly behind the peer group and benchmarks during the quarter. In line with our staying invested philosophy, we do expect to participate in volatility more than the peer group from time to time. The philosophy helps to increase the probability of reaching the portfolio's CPI plus targets over their respective time horizons. The one-year numbers are holding up well relative to their peers for both the model portfolios and the fund of funds, as well as the returns of the funds over their respective investment horizons. Also, the end of this quarter marks the 4-year anniversary of the MFP-focused model portfolios since their launch. Over the 4 years, all of the solutions are ahead of their respective peer groups, with the Focus 3 and 5 models also being ahead of their benchmarks. We are slightly lagging the higher CPI plus 5% benchmark with the Focus 7, as well as the unconstrained model portfolios, but they also have the longest time horizon of 7 years in order to achieve their objectives. Even over a 7-year time horizon, CPI plus 5 is still a tough benchmark to beat, as can also be seen from the multi-asset high equity peer group average returns, being slightly ahead of the Momentum Focus 7 fund of funds, but also lagging the benchmark. This is mainly driven by a lack of consistent, strong returns from growth asset classes like equity and property. Ultimately, 7 years is a long time, and the best way to achieve success is to stay invested during all the market highs and lows in order to have the best possible chance of achieving the higher return objectives of these solutions. For the quarter, MFP Focus 3 was down by 0.1%, while the Focus 5, 7 and 7 unconstrained model portfolios were up marginally by 0.4%, 0.1% and 0.1% respectively. The higher local equity allocation in the more aggressively positioned portfolios helped to offset negative returns from global equity. It was made worse by the strengthening rand that further detracted from returns of all global asset classes. The momentum-focused fund of funds delivered returns of 0.2%, 0.3% and 0% for the quarter respectively for Focus 3, 5 and 7. In terms of the global managed solutions, all three funds delivered positive dollar returns during the first quarter, ranging from 3.8% on cautious and 2.7% on managed, 1.5% on the growth fund respectively. As mentioned earlier, while global equities fell over the period, global bonds ended in positive territory and contributed to performance, with the result that the lower risk funds like the Global Cautious Fund with a bias to bonds outperformed. Our investment decisions in the funds added to returns over the period. Last quarter, we spoke about, in very broad terms, liking US treasuries and disliking US equities, and hence we were on the right side of the quarter one moves. From an asset allocation perspective, owning US treasury inflation-protected securities was our best decision after they returned 4.2%. In terms of manager selection, Robeco Conservative, which is one of the underlying managers in the Momentum Global Equity Fund, was our best performing manager. The portfolio is essentially the opposite of the Magnificent Seven trade, and its bias to defensive sectors and underweight to semiconductors was rewarded over the period, despite good returns. And as mentioned earlier, the first quarter is now essentially ancient history, given the volatility that we are seeing in markets currently. Thus far, not much has changed in terms of our outlook, and that is because tariffs continue to change day by day, and the valuation gap between equities, primarily US equities, and alternative growth assets, which include select infrastructure and property companies, private equity, private debt, etc., was so large that recent moves haven't yet served to close it, despite significant US underperformance. So, on that basis, we remain of the view that US equities are poor value compared to those aforementioned alternative growth assets, and we therefore remain underweight the former and overweight the latter. We moved to an underweight allocation to bonds during the quarter as yields fell, and that is where we remain today. With the yield on 10-year US treasuries having subsequently moved back up to around 4.5%, vindicating that decision to trim, we are close to adding back to bonds. However, we have added to equities on the big down days, but we remain underweight and therefore relatively cautiously positioned. In closing, even though we have recently witnessed sharp swings driven by intensifying tariff concerns, unsettling markets and elevating volatility that is likely to persist for some time, a diversified approach to portfolio construction remains the best tool to navigate uncertainty. We remain committed to actively managing both the local and global solutions with a disciplined approach, monitoring developments and their potential impact to decide the appropriate course of action. Staying invested, diversified and focused on your long-term objectives remains the most reliable path to building and preserving wealth. Thank you.